How's it going, folks? My name is Freddie, and this is Social Justice Theater. I'm an actor, musician, theater maker from originally Los Angeles, California. I went to school in the Bay Area, and my work has brought me to CDCR and to different institutions around my local community and around the world. Now, I came upon this technique called Theater of the Oppressed. And what this technique allowed me to do was to use theater as a tool for social change. Theater of the Oppressed takes a story of oppression, a story you might have or I might have, and turns it into a theater event. With this theater event, the spectator, the audience that's watching, gets to trade places with the actors on stage. And they get to change the course of the story by maybe offering a solution or some kind of intervention to the oppression that's happening. Now, after practicing this type of theater all over the world and for different reasons, I've had the opportunity to work with organizations that were developing affordable housing in Los Angeles and that were fighting for tenants' rights. Got to do some street theater. I also got to travel to Rwanda, which is a country in the heart of Africa where there was a genocide in the 90s of over 1 million people in 100 days. I got to use these techniques and apply them to solving the problems of recovering from something so traumatic. I've also had the good fortune of working with ex-lifers, previously incarcerated men that are dealing with the issues associated with being reintegrated into society. Now, in all of these situations, we used our lived experiences as the basis for the stories that we would tell. And that gave the opportunity to have dialogue with the audience, with the community about these issues. In a class that I would teach normally, I'd have about 12 people. We'd create some scenes and then we'd talk about them. With this 28-minute video, I want to be able to at least give you an introduction to what we can do with Theater of the Oppressed, how we can create some characters based on our own lives and our stories, and then eventually how to create a scene with those characters. So join me in the next few minutes. We're gonna go through a warm-up, we're gonna do some exercises, and hopefully inspire some folks to start to create characters and write their own stories, whether they be for the screen or the stage. I wanna be able to give you just a couple of tools to get that going. Let's start with our fingertips. Feel the spheres in your fingertips. And just isolate each one. What can you say just with your fingers? We're going to incorporate the wrists. Isolate just the wrists. And see what kind of expressive elements you can find in your wrists. What happens if you combine them with your fingers? Find the spheres, the circles. These joints are what allow us to move. They allow us to express. What can you express to someone across the way, across the room, across the globe? And go ahead and move on to your elbows. And now incorporate the wrists and the fingers, and you can see that all of a sudden we can do some karate, right? Or make a little potion, if you will, or perhaps throw a little dart, or I don't know, maybe conjure up some kind of magical power, we don't have to get all crazy. It's good to just express and show what we can do from our elbows down. Let's incorporate our arms. Excellent. What can we say with our arms? Can we make an offering with our fingers to our wrists, to our elbows, to our arms? Now what we're going to do is we're going to isolate other joints in our bodies. So let's go ahead and start with your right leg up and isolate the toes. Just the toes. And now incorporate the ankle, kind of the equivalent of the wrist, and move your toes around in there. Excellent. You'll notice that you're actually practicing the balance on your left leg when you do this. This is a really good exercise just to get you warmed up. And we're going to find the circles in our knees. And go the other way. Excellent. As you do that, mix in the circles in your ankles and go ahead and mix in the circles in your toes. Perfect. You're doing great. I'm just kidding. I don't know if you're doing great or not. I can't see you, but I hope you're doing great. And last but not least, hold it. Let's do the whole leg. Give me a circle forward. Whew. And a circle back. And repeat. Oi. I'm losing my own balance here. And that's okay. If you got a partner, go ahead and hold their shoulder or hold on to something. But it's really important that we get these muscles kind of warm. And of course, incorporate the other spheres that you've been working with and shake it out. Now guess what? We're gonna go to the left side and again start with the toes. Just the toes, only toes. And let's go ahead and incorporate the ankles. Incorporate the knee, give me a circle. Don't forget to include the ankles, of course. And of course, the toes. And go the other way. And last but not least, let's do the whole leg. Ugh. If you're an old man like me, let's run it back. You're gonna hear some popping and you're gonna start sweating. Okay, shake it off. If you want to do any additional steps or any additional warm-ups, you can. Any stretches that you might want to incorporate. Oh, I'm gonna stretch the back. You want to stretch the calves, your calves, etc. Go ahead and feel that stretch, and we're going to get into it. Okay, now that we're a little warmed up and we're sort of getting into our body, we want to start talking about the antagonist. And the way we start the work of Theater of the Oppressed is that we need to establish two opposing forces. Now, I said before that we're not going to make theater that just comes out of nowhere. We want to use real characters from our lives. So I want you to think about right now, someone in your life, could be present, could be past, that holds you back or gets in the way of getting what you want. I want you to think about that person and think about some of the physical traits of this person in the moment that you're having this confrontation with them. Now, traditionally, this is known as an antagonist. An antagonist, anti, keeps you, the protagonist, from getting what you want. In a play, in any story, there's going to be certain barriers that keep us or keep the main character from getting from point A to point B. Maybe in your life, you want some kind of peace. Maybe in your life, you want some sort of understanding. Maybe you want some sort of freedom. So think about someone that oppresses you. Think about someone perhaps in a position of authority. And what I want you to do is just sort of loosen up your body. And at the count of 3, I want you to come into an image of that person. And now an image is a broad term, but the idea is that you create with your body, just how we got into our warm-up, the image of that person as if you were looking in the mirror. if you have a mirror, this could help. We're going to create the image of our antagonist, and we'll begin with the antagonist because this will give us something to play off of. So now that you've thought of that person in your head that gets in the way of you getting what you want, I want you at the count of 3 to come into that image with a breath. So at the count of 3, you're going to take a breath and get into that image. Ready? 1, 2, and 3. Excellent. Now hold it. Hold the image. Hold the tension in every part of your body. And relax. Let it go. Excellent. Now what I want you to do is at the count of 3, I want you to come into that image with just one word. Okay? Repeat that same image. If you could add a little bit more detail in your facial expressions, in your arms, in the way that you're presenting that image, be as specific as possible. No one knows this antagonist better than you because you observe this person, maybe for years. So think of this antagonist again, and at the count of 3, we're going to come into our image with one word. So use a word that maybe this antagonist would use. At the count of 3, ready? 1, 2, and 3. Come. Hold the position, hold the image. Now, just feel what this is doing to your body. Think about every single part, every joint, every ligament. How is this manifesting itself in your body right now? And go ahead and relax. Relax and shake it off. Now, at the count of 3, what we're going to do is we're going to come into this image with just a sentence, a phrase or a sentence that this antagonist would use. Again, this is someone from your real life. Think of someone from your real life that you know so that you can assume all those qualities better than anybody else. This is how we'll begin to create a character. And at the count of 3, we're going to come into it with a phrase. Ready? 1, 2, and 3. Hey, come here. Now hold the position. Let that phrase sort of resonate and run through your body. Is it subtle? Does this person antagonize you in a way that's difficult to confront? Or is this person aggressive? Do they antagonize you in a way that makes you feel instantly less than? And relax. And here's the last piece. At the count of 3, each time getting more specific with our image, I want you to come into this image of your antagonist, and I want you to come into a 1-minute rant. I'll tell you when to stop. And this 1-minute rant is all those things that this antagonist says to you, all the things that maybe you tell yourself that this antagonist thinks about you. And I want you to use that with as much realism as possible to bring this character to life. Ready? 1, 2, and come into it. Hey, come here. And go. 1-minute rant. Come here. Don't you love me? Tell me you love me. Excellent. I want to hear it. Keep going. Ben. I want you to come to a climax in your rant. It's okay. Get to the peak of this discussion. Tell me you love me. That this antagonist has with you. Don't you love me? Make your point. Come here. As an antagonist. Hey. Hey. Hold the image. Don't I take care of you? Don't I give you what you need? Feel all the tension. Tell me you love me. And relax. Shake it off. This is the beginning of your antagonist character. Now let's put that antagonist to the side, literally in front of us. And now we're going to talk about the protagonist. Now the protagonist in this story, your story, is you. You are the person that's actively trying to get what they want. But this person is usually objectified, meaning that the antagonist is the subject of the sentence. They are doing something to you. And in this situation, what we're going to try to do is create the objectified protagonist. And so this is a person that this thing is being done to, whether it's they're not being allowed to speak, whether they're being discriminated against because of who they are or what they believe in, whether it's because there's a difference of power and this person is treating you or dehumanizing you, not allowing you to fulfill your humanity. What you want to do is think about the antagonist that we just created. We're going to put that antagonist there. If you have a partner, the antagonist can be frozen in an image that you created, right? An antagonist puts their hands on their hips and looks at you a certain way, doesn't even look at you at all, uses their fingers to put you down, or is very subtle about it. Depends on what your antagonist is. And what I want you to do right now is to create an image of yourself, the protagonist, in relationship to the antagonist. So you're going to place yourself in front of this character, and you're going to create the image of yourself in that exchange when that oppression is occurring. So at the count of 3, I just want you to come into it with a breath. Again, this is you. So you're going to be creating the image of yourself in front of this antagonist. I'm going to count to 3, and you're going to come into it just with a breath. So blow out all your air. And 1, 2, 3. Come into your image with a breath. Hold it. Feel that image. And relax. Excellent. Now that we've established sort of the base, think about your posture, your shoulders, your arms. Are you pleading? Are you just giving up? Whatever that is, personify it, intensify it. We're going to do the same thing we did with the antagonist, and we're going to come into it with one word. What's this word that comes out of you when you are in front of this antagonist? Maybe it's silence. Let's come up with a word. Let's externalize, if need be, the word that describes how we're feeling in that moment, what we're thinking, what's going through our mind. Again, this is the protagonist. This is you. I'm going to count to 3, and you're going to come into it with one word. Ready? 1, 2, and 3. Pops. Hold it. Hold the image. Think about that word. What it means in the context of this relationship with this person that's oppressing you. And relax. Now, oppression happens systematically. So this person can be a representative of a system that is oppressive, that discriminates. So we can also think about this person symbolically, but it's very, very, very important that this antagonist be someone real, because that is the way that oppression manifests itself, in these micro interactions between people. So now we've come into our own character as the protagonist in the story. What we want to do is we want to come into it with just a phrase. What is the phrase of your protagonist? What do they say when they're in front of this antagonist? Try to play the moment. So I'm going to count to 3, and I want you to come into your character. This is you playing yourself in that moment with a phrase. Ready? 1, 2, and come into it. Hey, Pops, you said your phrase. Hold it. See that antagonist in front of you. What are they provoking, both in your body and your mind? Really get into that moment. If this becomes too much, take a break, take a breath, relax. But try to hold it. We're really trying to get into this scenario and personify that person. We just created that. In fact, we embodied. Some of us, right, the people that don't have partners, you embodied that antagonist. And relax. Let that out of your body. Let it go. Now, at the count of 3, we're going to get into a rant. A rant is just 1 minute about 1 minute of you saying whatever it is you need to say in this moment, staying within the context of that relationship. So if this person has power over you, this person has power over you. Continue with that and proceed with a 1 minute rant in your character, in your protagonist. Begin with the image that you first started with, right? Whether you're pleading or you're frustrated, whatever it is, and go from there. Improvise. At the count of 3, we're going to go into our 1 minute rant. Ready? 1, 2, and go. Hey, Pops. Yeah. Continue talking to your antagonist.
I love you, but
continue that exchange.
Why you hurt us? What?
Find all the good reasons why this
instead?
person needs to give you what you want.
What? I'm not trying to be
Find the most
disrespectful.
compelling arguments to change this person as much as you can, knowing
want
that
you
they're
to
not
love
going
me.
to, not here, because you've had this interaction with them over and over again. Now get to the peak of this argument with this person. It's okay if people think you're talking to yourself. This is part of the character development. Get to the peak.
Be a family with us.
And relax. Let that go. We've just created our protagonist. Now we have 2 characters to start from in order to create a dialogue. What you have now is a short scene, and we're going to play it out. So get yourself in your position as the antagonist or as the protagonist, and we're going to go back and forth. At the count of 3, I want you to mix and improvise for about a minute or so the exchange between these 2 characters. Try to remember the spatial dimensions of this character. So if your character of the antagonist was on the left side, keep that antagonist there, personify that antagonist, and I want you in the same breath, after that line that they say, to go into your protagonist and assume that character. It's very important that you assume that character. This is real. In this moment that we play it real. We're going to experiment with this with just a minute, and then we'll come back. So at the count of 3, you're going to come in to your antagonist character and answer with your protagonist character. These are the beginnings of a dialogue, a scene that you would play by yourself, going back and forth between the characters. Again, if you have a partner, use your partner and build off of those improvisations. At the count of 3, we're going to go for 1 minute. Ready? 1, 2, and go.
Hey, come here. Come here.
Find the reason.
Hey, Pops. What's up? Hey.
Focus on the argument.
Don't you love me? Huh? Won't you show me some respect?
Now focus on the why.
Yeah, Pops, it's just sometimes you don't act like that. You don't
try to find your argument.
You don't act like you really care about us, but
it's okay if it fails.
I don't mean no disrespect. It's just
this first scene is not meant to be
solved.
My
mom, and I don't know what to say to that. I don't know what to do. I just
take about 10 more seconds in your scene.
I don't mean no disrespect. What do you mean I hurt you? What are you talking about? I didn't hurt nobody.
Come to a resolution.
And if anybody's getting disrespected, it's me.
And relax.
Do you love me?
At this moment, I want you to take a journal, a piece of paper, and jot down those lines of dialogue, that exchange that you just improvised. I want you to write it all down. Script it out. You write your first character's name, whatever name you want to give it, and then your other character's name. It could be as simple as antagonist, protagonist. You can fill in the blanks later. The idea is that this is going to be the beginnings of a scene that you can expand. You can add characters. You can add scenarios. Where do these 2 people interact? What is the place? What is the time? Is this happening in the 90s, in the 80s? Is this happening now? Go through that, write the dialogue out, and you'll have the beginning of the scene. That scene can turn into an act, and that act can turn into a full-length play. Little by little, adding more and more details to your characters. Work on these every day. Build, write, rewrite. Rinse, repeat. You can create any character with this. In fact, some people say that their biggest antagonist is inside. Play that character out. If it's an alter ego, what does that alter ego do that's different than the person? How do you separate our different energies? Give those people characters. Give them lines. And I wish you luck on this journey. Please write it down. These improvisations are meant to help you jumpstart the process of storytelling, of creating images, and hopefully maybe a longer journey of healing. A lot of times we're able to reflect because we use theater as that mirror to reflect upon. I wish you the best. Until next time, I'm Freddy. Hasta luego.